What are you most listening for as we get these numbers?
Yeah, you bet. So they report next week on Wednesday. I think the numbers broadly should be very, very good. We're entering right into the start of the Rubin cycle, which is their next generation platform. They've already given kind of color for growth through this year and actually into next year. And actually, we're hoping that they may even take that up. They said $1 trillion, unbelievably, over a 3-year period, which would suggest something close to $500 billion in data center revenues next year. I think if you look at some of the build plans and things like that for the new platform, numbers that are higher than that start to become pretty plausible. And so I'd love to see if they would actually commit to that or not on this print. Beyond that, I think we're looking for the sustainability of gross margins, particularly as things like memory pricing and wafer pricing is coming up. And they've priorly said that they could hold gross margins in the current range, which is sort of mid-70s, and love to see them continue to confirm that. And then finally, I think any color on some of the financing backstops that we've heard recently. There's been a lot of news flow around some of the financing for data center projects, which could be hundreds of billions of dollars. And Nvidia, in some sense, has been sort of donating their credit rating, kind of, and offering backstops for some of those deals. And so any more details we can get on that, I think, would be useful and helpful.
Stacey, it's Karen. Thanks for being on. So do you think that last thing you talked about, this credit issue, is bigger than the actual earnings or what the gross margin is? How much of the story is really resting on that?
Yeah, I don't know if the story's resting on it, but I mean, the dollars that are looking to get spent are large. And there becomes this question of how to pay for it. And I think all the questions of the returns and things that can drive that, in my mind, are starting to get more and more settled in the favor of the idea that there is a return. But some of the customers that are potentially looking to do this, they're startups, even big startups, but they're startups, and they don't have the kind of track record. And so the fact that there is a backstop of the leases and other things, I think, to help that get going, I think is okay. Nvidia has clearly a lot of money and balance sheet to deploy. It's another one of their strategic advantages beyond technology and ecosystem and everything else. And I mean, personally, I'm kind of hard pressed to think of a better use of their excess cash versus investing, in the ecosystem to grow it and develop it around their products. But there's been lots of headlines and lots of big numbers and not a lot of details on how this stuff is really going to work yet. And so I think color that they could give on that would be helpful. I think in helping to put some investors' minds at ease on some of this.
So, Stacey, it's a great company. It always seems to knock it out of the park when you bet against them. Why the underperformance? And even if they have another stellar quarter, what makes me believe that my money should be put into that stock that's underperformed drastically its peers?
Yeah, and to be fair, like I'll be honest, I think it's going to be a good print. I don't know what the stock is going to do in the near term. Like, most of my coverage is reported earnings. By and large, they've all had very good prints, and I barely had any stocks actually go up the day after the print. So, like, I guess we'll just have to see. That being said, like, everybody's getting excited they've been excited about AI. Like, none of AI ultimately works if Nvidia is not working. The stock has treaded water a little bit of last year or so. Investors have been playing more of the things that I think were viewed as having higher torque to the upside. There was a big thing around the bottleneck plays, for example, for quite a while. I would say that recently Nvidia started outperforming. I think your chart has showed it a little bit. Some of that's starting to reverse. I think if you look at least over the last month, the SOX index is down about 5%. Nvidia is actually up 4 or 5%. So it's actually started a little bit of a reversal relative to the rest of the group over the last month or so. And I would be hopeful that can continue, because, like I said, I do think we are right at the beginning now of their next product cycle, which those product cycles tend to be good things for the stock when they get going, and we're there. So I would hope that can reverse. In this environment, though, I'll be honest, I don't know what the stock's going to do, but I do think the numbers will be good.
How is this one set up?
Sure, let's get to it. Obviously, the greatest of all has been the laggard, the one that was so embraced for the past year is underperforming. But let's look at three charts. The first you see is a comparative chart, and this tells the tale. Again, semis up about 112%, and Nvidia up about 20%. Now, comparative is one form, but relative is better. And this is the second chart. It depicts which is Nvidia divided by the stocks, which gives you a relative strength line, a relative performance line. So relative performance peaked again about a year ago in the first week in August, and we've started to recover back towards that 150-day moving average. And that the recovery, I think, has room to run. So generally speaking, on this basis, we want to be long Nvidia paired against stocks. And then finally, Nvidia chart itself, fairly well-defined circumstance. It's bounced off that uptrend line to the penny over and over. We moved out of that, what you'd call converging trend lines, call it a symmetrical triangle or wedge, doesn't matter what you call it. We broke out above that and we've checked back here. We want to be long Nvidia into the print.
Having me on your show as always. Look, we look at AI demand. We're very bullish on AI. We look at AI demand as in a very simple manner. There's the near-term demand, there's a near to mid-term demand, and the mid to long-term demand. The near-term demand is all being driven by hyperscalers. There is some enterprise demand in there, but hyperscalers are overshadowing all the press. In the midterm, you have real companies such as banks, pharmaceutical manufacturing that kick in. That's about 2 years plus out, 2 to 5 years. And then mid to long term, there's self-driving robotics, sovereign, things like enterprise that continue to kick in. So we look at very long legs. And then the other thing you have to take into account is LLMs are getting more complex. They're up about 10x on year basis. I can go back and tell you that the latest LLM is about 1.5 to 2 trillion parameters. 2 years ago, ChatGPT-3 was 175 billion. The tokens used are going up dramatically. But in order to make the token economics work, you need to drop the cost of the tokens. And the way you do that is through upgrades. So even for these hyperscalers, they need to constantly think about upgrades to have reasonably economic tokens, which is kind of the core of our thesis for hyperscaler upgrades. But then, of course, you have enterprise, you have these new applications. We are not concerned about NVIDIA earnings whatsoever. We think demand is exceptionally strong there.
I suppose the demand side is not what a lot of folks have questioned about, at least in the near term. I assume NVIDIA next week will be asked to elaborate further on a lot of sort of the financing efforts and the stakes it's taking in other parts of the ecosystem. I mean, is how much is that part of your conversation with clients about the name?
It has come up a little bit in the conversation with clients. Look, the reality is some of these private companies are staying private for a very long time. In my initiation, I cited Anthropic. It's doing something like $11.5 billion a quarter, up almost 1,400%, something like that year on year, 400% sequentially. My point here is something that big, that is growing that fast, has required a lot of capital. Wall Street didn't have a great mechanism because they didn't understand. A lot of the big banks didn't understand the business because the business wasn't making any money at that point. But companies like NVIDIA did. And so companies like NVIDIA were very happy to finance the growth because they understood these models. Now, NVIDIA has a very clear clause that their capital is not to be used for their equipment purchases. I think finally we're getting some capital that is allocated through Apollo and some of these other large financing arms, along with NVIDIA, to facilitate this kind of growth that we're seeing. But it's a function of companies staying private for long. It's also, I look at the capital as a moat. It stands right there with technology, CUDA, software, the ability to manufacture complex systems. Mm-hmm. And if you have the balance sheet, why not use it?
Well, certainly it is an advantage, no doubt about it. Real quick word on the analog semi group, which you also think may be due for an upswing.
Yeah, so look, economy, despite everybody's worry, is staying pretty strong. We are seeing a definite turn in industrial. We've already started to see that since the beginning of the year. We're seeing a turn in automotive. And of course, defense has been very strong. Those are the three biggest categories, if you will, of the analog space. And so between those three categories, analog is seeing a resurgence. We are seeing things like lower inventories, ASP increases, expedite orders from customers. And my suspicion is that this cycle will probably last for many quarters from here. So we're bullish on analog, particularly those that have industrial exposure. And of course, very bullish on Nvidia with the cheap multiple and the AI complex overall.
But really, we're turning our eyes towards next week as it plays into everything. How we just started the show, Nvidia earnings, the Fed chair speaking, the NASDAQ 100 trying to avoid its 6th straight down day today. By the way, Nvidia is having its best month since April, Rob. It's leading the mega caps this year now as well. It's up 16%. That is the best performance. It has woken up, as they've been saying, and now we head into a really critical week. How do you see it?
I mean, to me, NVIDIA is always important, right? And they've continued to deliver again and again and again. But the more important story, at least in the very short run, is the Fed meeting. And in my mind, they really have only a couple choices to do what they want, which is in control of the long end of the curve, neither of which I think are particularly palatable. They can obviously raise rates and, to deal with the inflation problem that we see out there. Alternatively, they can control the long end because they're limited right now in terms of borrowing short just because of the size of short-term borrowing to buy at the long end. So they can engage in QE, which would also bring that down.
But they aren't obviously they aren't doing it. There's no Fed meeting next week. It's the speech.
But they can indicate, right? They can indicate, kind of tip their hand is what they're going to do. Oh, hear me out one second. The thing that would save everything is opening the Strait, because it relieves the inflationary.
Yeah, of course.
pressure.
Good luck with that. Like in the near term, though, now that you have rates backing up, does the speech, does that put more pressure
100%
on what happens next week for the near term direction of the market, maybe even more so than Nvidia, or no?
I think in the near-term direction, yes. But listen, you need both these. This is a two-headed monster next week. I fully expect, with what's going on in the AI complex, Nvidia to deliver strong results as they always have. The question is, where do they indicate the kind of forward expectations are? And they've continued to raise that bar. So I think Nvidia is a safe bet. I think the Fed communication is something that's uncertain thus far. We're still digesting a new communication style from our new Fed chair. But it's clear that the administration is wanting to control long-term rates.
Yeah, of course. It's as much political as anything else, I think, at this point. So what's, Amy, the bigger event in your mind next week? The speech or the earnings? Because the earnings are Wednesday, the speech is Friday.
They're both big. I expect, Nvidia will be huge if it doesn't deliver exactly, what people expect it to deliver. But I'm not in that camp. I think they're going to say great things. I think they're going to have great numbers. We'll see what the stock, in some ways, I'm more interested in what the stock does rather than what the numbers are, because that will tell you what people are expecting and how optimistic people are. And that's what we really don't know. The numbers are going to be great.
Yeah, and the numbers have been great, right? And the stock hasn't always been great.
Right, exactly. So that's that. So I'm actually interested in the reaction to the numbers in some ways, even more than the numbers. With regard to what Kevin Warsh could do next week, he's in a hard position. He has to be hawkish. I don't think anybody's expecting him not to be hawkish. But then the question is, does he deliver? And that's what has been the question so far, is that all of his speeches have been very hawkish. And I think that's what happened at the last FOMC meeting, is everyone's like, you're so hawkish. You're saying it has to be 2%. It's not 2%. Why aren't you raising?
But he doesn't necessarily have, he sort of gets off the hook, doesn't he, by a weaker retail report, the last two jobs reports being weaker, the last two inflation reports, CPI, PPI being softer.
Right.
So that kind of takes the edge off, doesn't it? Maybe he doesn't have to be as hawkish as he otherwise would be.
But people are going to say, look, inflation is still above expectations. We still think the Fed is relatively easy. And so when are you going to do something about that? And are you going to tell me at all how you're even thinking about it? And I think that's what... But I think he is going to say 2% is still our North Star. We still want 2%. I don't see how he can say anything but that. And then I think that opens it up to the next meeting of like, okay, so you're saying 2% and we're still not there. And people will say the 3-month, average is 1.6, and he can use those numbers, which are right, but the 2% is still far away.
So, Jenny. So we're at, let's just call it 7,700 on the S&P, even though we're just a little bit below that once again now. is the determining factor between now and, let's say, the next couple months, determined by, because let's also suggest that we don't think the Fed's going to do anything at the next meeting, right? We don't think they're going to hike. They're definitely not going to cut. So let's just assume that they stand pat. So then that makes next week and the speech maybe even more important. But then I got Nvidia looming as well. So if I think that the stock market can hit, let's just say, 8,400 by the end of this year, or even stronger than that, as some forecasts are now coming to believe we can do, does next week hold the key on both regards, earnings and Fed speak?
No, I don't think next week even matters, and I'll tell you why.
That is a
controversial,
bizarro
I'll tell you
suggestion,
why,
so
because
please
here's the thing.
Explain yourself.
I think Warsh is off the hook because earnings are doing all the work. Right? We've had a year where the 10-year's gone from 4.2 to 4 3/4.
Okay.
And the market's up. If you told me at the beginning of the year the interest rates are going to be up that much, you wouldn't think stocks are up that much. Why are stocks up? Because of this spectacular earnings growth. What happens every time Nvidia reports? Every time. They have great numbers, they're already anticipated, and the stock yawns a little in one direction or the other direction. I don't think anything that Nvidia says next week is going to matter to Nvidia. We already know what they're going to say. It might matter more to CoreWeave or Microsoft or OpenAI.
Isn't that?
But you know what?
But therein lies the conflict in what you said.
No. Here's the thing. All that matters between now and the next 4 months is Q3 earnings reports that we'll start to get in November. And so I think we're in a period I think the reason we're focusing on next week and Warsh and Nvidia is because we have nothing else to talk about. We're just in a waiting period until earnings start to be reported. And by the way, I think earnings are going to be spectacular again. So if you want to know where I think the market ends, I think the market ends up. Might be here, might be 8,000, who knows? I think the earnings for this year and the earnings growth rates, those are predetermined. They're mathematical. They're coming. They're happening. And next week is just interesting, but I don't think it's a determinant of anything. And I don't think it's terribly insightful because I think we already know here and now today exactly what both of them are going to do.